What's going on, everybody? This is Limitless Videos, and today we got some more stuff we're going to tackle on Project Eclipse. Let's get after it. Parts install. I just wanted to touch on something real quick about the turbo install. I know I mentioned in the last video when I was installing the turbo, there was a bolt in the back that was really hard to access, and the only way I could get to it was using the open end of the wrench. So what I did is I went out to Harbor Freight and I just got a cheap set of the Pittsburgh wrenches. And I noticed when I was installing the bolt that if I just shaved down a little bit of the box end, I would have enough room to reach in there, give me more access to the bolt with more contact points. So that's what I did. I shaved it down just enough and I was able to get in there with it. So now I have a tool for myself to make the install easier. And also if I have to take it off, uninstalling it will be that much easier down the road. With that out of the way, the first part that I'm installing today is the turbo drain line. I got the Morrison Fabrications 3/4 inch drain line. I went with Morrison Fabrication because they're highly regarded on the forums, and they also have a really simple connection method with just a hose and also some hose clamps. So it makes it really easy with putting the drain line on and also taking it off for future disassemblies of various parts. So we're going to go ahead and get that installed on the turbo right now. Now that we have this part snugged up to the turbo, we can go ahead and torque it down. I'm going to be using factory torque specs for this, so the torque specs are going to be 16 foot-pounds. Now we're going to get the drain bolted up to the oil pan, but before we do that, I think it's worth mentioning that Morrison Fabrication actually has theirs at an upward angle. So if you're running a Morrison Fabrication drain line, just make sure with this part you check the orientation at which you mount it so you take full advantage of that upward angle that they offer. And the same thing for this part of the oil drain. I'm going to be using OEM torque specs. So it's 6.5 foot-pounds for the oil drain to the oil pan. Now that we have both of those mounted, we can go ahead and take the provided tube, take a few measurements, and get it cut to length. Morrison Fabrication does recommend cutting this to a length that is shorter than it is longer, just to avoid kinking with the hose to ensure proper oil drain flow. So we're going to try and get it as short as possible with a nice clean setup. They definitely weren't kidding when they said to cut the hose as short as possible. This is the initial measurement that I took, and on the initial cut, I left a little bit of room on the end just in case it was too short, but I still ended up with a kink in the line, so I took it off and put a hose clamp on just to mark where it was at. I was trying to round it off with the one hose clamp, but it just wasn't enough. So I took it off and I took some more measurements towards the top end and cut a little bit off there, but it still wasn't enough. I had the kink in the line still, so I put a second hose clamp on to round off the hose some more, and upon visual inspection, it was looking pretty good there. While I'm down here, I figured I'd explain to you guys the port on the oil filter housing that I'm using for the oil feed line for the turbo, and it's this one right here. The reason that I'm using this one and that I recommend it is because at this point in the oil filter housing is where filter oil is going to be coming out of, which is going to be feeding directly into your turbo, which is exactly what you want. The oil drain and feed line both being hooked up, that's going to do it for this video. If you guys are enjoying the Project Eclipse build, go hit that subscribe button. There's still plenty of stuff left to tackle on this build, next of which being the axle nuts and bleeding the front and rear brake calipers. This has been Limitless Videos, and I'll see you in the next one.